Thank you. The House is resumed. Ki ora tātou no reira te whare, inga iwi, inga rio, inga hawe wha tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Honourable members, prior to the dinner break at 6 p.m, we completed the maiden speeches, and the House now comes to its extended sitting for the consideration of Government Orders of the Day numbers 1 through to 8. I therefore call on Government Orders of the Day numbers 1 and 2.
Ngai Tamanuhiri claims settlement bill, first reading. Ngati Makino claims settlement bill, first reading.
I recognise the Honourable Minister, Dr. Peter Sharples.
I ask the leave of the House to extend my time to 15 minutes. I have actually got a cognate bill here with 2 iwi involved.
Well, the Honourable Member will know that the House is the master of its own destiny. The member seeks leave. Is there any objection to that course of action being taken? There is none. The Honourable Minister has 15 minutes. And Peter, the bell will go with 5 minutes remaining, so you know. Tēnā koe.
I move that the Ngai Tamanuhiri Claims Settlement Bill and the Ngati Makino Claims Settlement Bill now be read a first time. Mr. Speaker, at the appropriate time, I intend to move that the bills be referred to the Māori Affairs Committee for consideration. Nā reira, ki ngai iwi koutou ko haramai ni, tēnei whare paremati, tēnei pōnau mai haramaira. Haramaira koutou, tēnō rō rawa koutou e kau e tēnei kaupapa. Engari, tēnei pō, he tīmatanga pēr o te whakamutunga. Nā reira, nau mai haramaira. Hoki aku mahara ki a rātou kāri konei tēnei wā, rātou i tīmatai i tēnei hikoi, kau e nei tēnei kaupapa ko ngaroat, me ngā mate o te rā, nā reira rātou ki a rātou oki pai mai. Engari ko koutou nei, ko tai mai, ki te tautoko tēnei āhuatanga a rā te kaupapa e whakahuihui tia tātou, nau mai whakapiri mai koutou. First, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the representatives of Ngai Tamanuhiri and Ngati Makino who have joined us today for this highly significant occasion, Mr. Speaker. This is an important day for Ngai Tamanuhiri and Ngati Makino, where we remember and acknowledge their historical treaty grievances, but also look forward and celebrate with optimism their future and the opportunities that will follow this settlement. The first reading of these 2 bills today is a step towards the completion of a journey that has taken many years for both iwi. Ngai Tamanuhiri is an iwi based in the Gisborne region and was represented in negotiations by the Ngai Tamanuhiri Whānui Trust. The whakatauaki mai I Paritu ki Kopututea describes the area in which Ngai Tamanuhiri hold mana whenua. Ngai Tamanuhiri has 5 principal hapu, Ngati Rangiwaho, Ngati Rangiwaho Matua, Ngai Tāwehe, Ngati Kahutia, and Ngati Rangitauwhiwhia. Nolan Raihania, tō tātou kaumātu kone I tēnei pō, provided a whakatauaki for the deed of settlement, and I would now like to quote it as it signifies the unity and strength of Ngai Tamanuhiri as an iwi. Ko te mana o te tangata kai ona uri. Tēnā koe kai te rangata. Ngati Makino is an iwi from the Bay of Plenty region and was represented in treaty settlement negotiations by the Ngati Makino Heritage Trust. Ngati Makino is also a member of the Arawa Federation of Tribes. Ngati Makino hails from the area between the coast and the lakes, Rotoehu, Rotoiti, and Rotoma. It should also be noted that Ngati Makino has close whakapapa connections to Waitaha as they descend from Waitaha Ahei. Ngati Makino historically operated as an independent entity, but because of their close whakapapa connections, were able to band together with other iwi when confronted by external threats or for common interests. the grievances and treaty settlement negotiations of Ngai Tamanuhiri. 20 years ago, in 1992, Ngai Tamanuhiri first began their journey. Eric John Tupai Ruru, Tutakawa Wiley, and Peter Gordon lodged the claim with the Waitangi Tribunal on behalf of Te Aitanga Mahaki, Ngai Tamanuhiri, and Noga Whakaata, referred to as Y283. I wish to acknowledge those who began this journey but are no longer with us. Moi maira, e ngā rangatira, moi maira. In the Ngai Tamanuhiri settlement, the Crown acknowledges a number of serious treaty breaches. In 1865, Crown forces lay siege to the defensive pa at Wairingahika, where many Tūranga Māori were killed and a number of Tūranga Māori were imprisoned and transported to the Chatham Islands without trial or conviction. In 1868, Ngai Tamanuhiri were pressured to cede all their land to the Crown. This cessation was made under duress, as the Crown had threatened to remove all its protection unless the entire district was ceded. The Crown eventually returned land to Ngai Tamanuhiri, but made arrangements which led to its ownership being held by individuals rather than the tribal collective, making it more susceptible to alienation and fragmentation. These and other breaches have left Ngai Tamanuhiri without sufficient land to meet their present and future needs. I want to now highlight the Crown apology contained in the deed of settlement and subsequently this bill. The apology is significant as it takes a step toward healing the hurt caused by the treaty breaches. Negotiations between Ngai Tamanuhiri and the Crown took place from 2007 through to 2011. I want to acknowledge the hard work of the trustees and the negotiators for getting Ngai Tamanuhiri to where we are today. Nārira tēnā koutou. In 2008, Ngai Tamanuhiri signed an agreement in principle as part of the Tūranga Collective. Following the collective separating in 2009, Ngai Tamanuhiri entered into negotiations with the Crown for their deed of settlement and initialed that deed in December 2010. In a dawn ceremony on the 5th of March 2011 at Muriwai Beach, Ngai Tamanuhiri and the Crown signed the first of the documents that make up the deed of settlement. The ceremony reflected the significance of Te Kuria Pawa, also known as Young Neck's Head, to Ngai Tamanuhiri. The deed of settlement is a full and final settlement for all the historical treaty claims of Ngai Tamanuhiri. Ngati Makino's grievances and treaty settlement negotiations. According to Ngati Makino, Kawana Te Kirikau is the person who first initiated the Ngati Makino claim in 1992. Named claimants include Te Ariki Morehu, Neville Nepia, Peretini Nuku Taua, and Afi Mate. In 1995, the claims of Ngati Makino were presented at the Waitangi Tribunal inquiry into the Eastern Bay of Plenty district. This has been a long journey for Ngati Makino, and I would like to again to acknowledge those who began this journey but are no longer with us here today. Nā reira rātou kia rātou. Moi mai. When the war broke out in the Waikato region, iwi within the Bay of Plenty felt the tension. The people of Ngati Makino were split between supporting the Crown, taking a stance of armed neutrality, or supporting the kingitanga. Although some of their land was confiscated by the Crown in retaliation for certain murders committed in the Bay of Plenty, Ngati Makino played no part in those killings. Through the early 1900s, the Crown used a number of pieces of legislation to alienate and acquire virtually all of Ngati Makino's land. This settlement with Ngati Makino is a significant step in working to put right the losses of Ngati Makino suffered. Ngati Makino has had a long journey through negotiations with the Crown. Terms of negotiation were reached in 1998. However, with the change of government, negotiations were suspended. The Waitangi Tribunal found in 2004 and again in 2005 that Ngati Makino had suffered prejudice as a result of the Crown's delay in negotiating with them. In 2008, the Crown reconfirmed the mandate of the Ngati Makino Heritage Trust. In April 2008, together with Waitaha, joint terms of negotiation were entered into. An agreement in principle was reached in November 2008. Then in December 2008, after a period of intense negotiations, Ngati Makino and the Crown initialed a deed of settlement. An overwhelming majority of Ngati Makino members who voted in the ratification process expressed support for the deed of settlement and the proposed post-settlement governance arrangements. On 2 April 2011, at Otamaraka, Ngati Makino and the Crown signed a deed of settlement. Key features of the legislation. I want now to highlight the key features of the deeds of settlement and the redress terms that will be transferred by these bills. For Ngai Tamanuhiri, perhaps the most significant item of redress for Ngati Tamanuhiri is the return of Te Kuria Pawa. Te Kuria Pawa is a significant landmark for the people of Ngai Tamanuhiri. Te Kuria Pawa will be vested as a National Historic Reserve under the Reserves Act 1977. I am confident this vesting will ensure that public interest is provided for, while recognising the special relationship Ngai Tamanuhiri has with Te Kuria Pawa. The settlement provides for the establishment of a central leadership group and a local leadership body to provide a forum for Ngai Tamanuhiri along with other Turanganui Akiwa iwi to engage with central government departments and ensure that implementing the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi is a coordinated effort with the Turanganui Akiwa region. The local leadership body will work with the local council to contribute to the sustainable management of the resources within that region. These redress items provide Ngai Tamanuhiri with a valuable opportunity to engage with central and local government on a range of issues. Ngai Tamanuhiri will receive a quantum total of $11.07 million, which takes into account the nature of the historical treaty breaches and the size of the iwi. This is to be provided in 3 parts: an on-account payment that was made after the signing of the deed of settlement, transfer of Ngai Tamanuhiri interest in Wharerata Forest, and a financial sum. Ngai Tamanuhiri will also receive a number of commercial properties that may assist Ngai Tamanuhiri develop its commercial footing and contribute to the long-term financial success of Ngai Tamanuhiri. Ngati Makino. And now to the key redress items contained in Ngati Makino's settlement. The area extending from Lake Rotehu out to sea is extremely significant to Ngati Makino, as those lands provided them with their food and their medicine. In recognition of these associations, the settlement includes statutory acknowledgements over parts of Lake Rotoma and Lake Rotoiti. Part of Lake Rotoma Scenic Reserve will be subject to a whenua rahui that will allow for the protection of the reserve. A number of culturally significant properties are also being returned to Ngati Makino. These include Rākau o Kauai Hapa site, Ngā Porotai o Waitaha Ahai, Lake Rotoehu Scenic Reserve, and the balance of the Matawhāura site. Another significant item of redress included in the settlement is a marae development fund. This fund will assist Ngati Makino to restore and revitalise 6 marae in the rohe. Ngati Makino will receive a financial quantum of 6.7 million, made up of a financial payment and licensed land being transferred to the iwi, and takes into account the extent of Ngati Makino's losses and the size of the iwi. Ngati Makino will also receive a financial settlement of 3.1 million. I am confident, Mr. Speaker, that both bills will settle the historical treaty claims of Ngai Tamanuhiri and Ngati Makino in a fair and final manner. While it is not possible to provide full restitution to Ngai Tamanuhiri and Ngati Makino for their losses, the settlement redress provided for in these bills seeks to recognise the seriousness of their grievances and build a positive foundation for future generations. Mr. Speaker, I consider that the bill should therefore proceed without delay to the Māori Affairs Committee. I commend these bills to the House. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe. The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Speaker.
I call the Honourable Parakura Horomia. Tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe.